Hi, welcome to the fundamentals of acting. I'm your instructor, Fitz, and we're going to have a lot of fun in this lesson. Now, first of all, we're approaching the mind as a tool from the point of view of how the mind can help you achieve your best performances in all that you do. We're focusing on your emotions and your memories. How the mind puts those two together in the preparation for a character and through performance, what usually brings out the best performance. And that's where the Academy Awards and the Emmy Awards lie. You see, when a person is totally committed to their emotions, we believe it. We, the viewer, believe they're going through that emotion to the point where we go on the journey with them and we feel what they feel. That's the actor's ultimate goal, to take the audience through the journey. If the actor is not totally connected to that emotion, then we end up saying, that was terrible acting. I didn't believe any of that. Because if the actor doesn't believe in what he's doing or feel what he's doing, you, the viewer, feel that as well and are very critical about that as per the reviewers of different movies. Now, an actor's lifelong goal is to figure out, one, how to commit 100% to every emotion that there is and make sure that he's not blocking it. Because if you, the person, are blocking the emotion, you, the actor, will block the emotion. Say if you have to cry in a scene and you, the person, have a problem crying, well then when it comes time to cry in the scene, you, the actor, are going to have trouble crying because you, the person, are blocking the tears. So this is where all the acting classes and workshops and exercises come into play, because you have to learn how to unblock an emotion that is personal to you if you want to achieve that emotion in a performance. And these are just examples of letting you understand how the mind is in control of how effective that is or is not, because it is the mind that allows you to unlock that door to the emotion or refuse to unlock that door. Some people just have a block. If the block is connected to a memory that is very unpleasant, the person, not the actor, has trouble releasing that emotion. And that's usually where the drills come in, how to get around that, how to let yourself have permission to have that negative feeling, even though it's connected to a real memory in the past. Now let's move to memories. Your brain is a storehouse of memories of every experience in your life. Some you remember consciously, some you remember if you're hypnotized. But either way, they're all in the library of your mind. Now, what the actor's job is to do is, with any role, first off, when you get a character, you look at the character. If you see qualities in the character that are any part of you at any time of your life, you use what we call sense memory, recalling the personal experiences of your own life that are similar to that character to bring it to life, to bring it forth. Sense memory means you're remembering everything about that relationship. In the old days, when sense memory was first coming out in Russian theater, they took the time, months, to use sense memory on every single thing that you touch. If you're drinking a cup of coffee, not only did you think about how hot the coffee is, but how did the cup feel? Is the cup hot? How hot? Warm? What's the texture of the cup? And then how does your arm feel when you've got the cup in your hand? Now, that may seem, why are they doing all that? Mainly because if you're on stage miming you're drinking coffee, there is no coffee in the cup. If you've not totally analyzed what a hot cup of coffee feels like and tastes like and your reactions to it in reality, when it's time to act like you're drinking hot coffee on stage with a cup that's empty, that's going to be, he's not drinking any coffee. That cup's empty. And that's where our imagination, creativity, and sense memory work together. The mind has to put these pieces together. See, the mind's great quality is, once you start teaching it a technique and repeat the technique enough to become second nature. We always use the term second nature because now you're performing the activity without thinking. It's just, you've rehearsed it to the point where it's a natural reaction. That's where you want acting to fall, as it's just a reaction. It's a real scene. The scene is coming from another writer, the person who wrote the script, but you need to make it so real as an actor that it seems like it's you really talking. And that's where the second nature comes in. You know the lines like the back of your hand. You feel natural. You're not forced. Everything is very real to you, the person, which makes it real to you, the actor, which makes it real for the people who are watching you perform. Now, the other part of sense memory, I call direct recall. There's also indirect recall. Now that's, don't Google that term, because that's a Fitz term. Or maybe it might be there too. Indirect recall is when, for example, I look at the character, I have to portray a character. I have no idea what the reality of this character is because I've never been anything like this character at any time in my life. What do? Because I've been cast and I have to perform it. Now I'm recalling memories of anybody I've known in my past that has the qualities of that character. So now it's not coming from my direct memories, it's coming from my memories about the qualities of somebody else in my past who has the same qualities as that character, and now I'm borrowing those memories of that person and putting them into the character I'm portraying. And so that's how you bring the character to life if it's not related directly to you. See, so the mind is very busy putting all this together, because when I'm always saying the mind is the tool, the mind has to figure out these solutions. You give them the script, you're casting the character. Now, some directors will tell you every single thing they want you to do, and then you say, well, wait, when am I going to act? You're telling me everything to do. I'm not creating, I'm imitating what you tell me to do. But most of the time, if you're considered the actor, you get the script, you know your character, you create who the character is, based on a short description in the script of who the person is. But then you need to make that a real living person in life. So then you add depth to the person. What was the person's past? What mannerisms do they have? Use the other two lessons that we talked about in this series. What kind of physical impediment do they have, or do they have a handicap, a limp, a lisp? All these are physical body choices you have to add to the character. And then you could do something to the voice. You know, you could add a dialect. You could kind of western. You could do all kinds of things because that's a choice I want to make for this character. So I'm just going to change him and make him talk like this. Now that's a choice. Now if I'm reading the character's description and I think, you know what if I give this character a kind of strange voice, and you run that by the director, he says, you know what, that's a good idea, but you have to create the person from nothing based on a short description of what they say the person, who they say the person is, and then you bring them to life using the techniques I've said. Now, once you got your emotions, and you recalled, whether it's in yourself or indirect recall, you think about somebody else, you brought all these things to light. Now, that's actually the goal of the actual performance itself. But how do you practice getting these emotions activated? Well, there are three ways. You go to acting classes, you stay active in acting plays, or you do a number of film shorts and exercises like that keep you using your craft. Now, that's if you've got a pretty good grasp on all your emotions. But let's say you have some troubles with various emotions. And now that's where classes come in, because when you're in an acting class, you're not under the pressure to perform perfectly. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, because the purpose of an acting class or workshop is for you to try things you cannot try in real life. And if you mess up, you mess up, but there's no pressure because you're in class to work things out. Now I'll just give you a few examples of acting exercises in terms of how we touch bases with the emotions. If joy, happiness, laughter is the drill, how do you practice that? You laugh. You see, the thing about laughter, is once you start laughing, acting, you usually end up laughing in reality, because laughing is infectious. And so what I'm doing is enjoying what laughing feels like. And my mind is remembering that. So whenever I need to laugh, I just start laughing. Okay. Whew. Now, that's how we do laughter. I could be doing an activity in class. I say, okay, you've just come in from work and you open up this letter, and somebody tells you a joke in the letter that reminds you of a time in your life, and you have to laugh while reading this letter. What I just did was what I would use as the activity to laugh with that letter. And so these drills are dealt and applied to all the emotions individually at first. And then we put them all together. I call that emotional mapping. When you're going from one emotion to another after you've discovered each one individually, you just kind of transfer from one to another in a series just to let your body feel and emotions feel like what it feels like going from one emotion to the other. Now, pain, crying, and tears, those are the hardest techniques to get those to flow. And all the different acting techniques have different theories on how to help an actor cry, whether you relive a past emotion, which means now you're not acting like you remember somebody dying. You're remembering a real death in your life and how you felt that makes you really sad in reality, and you start crying in reality, and you're doing your scene and you're using that memory to bring those tears to life. That's when sense memory comes into full play there. Some people have a problem with that because when you break for lunch, you're in a bad mood all during lunch because it wasn't just a play memory, it was a real memory you brought to life. And once you bring that memory to life, you are in present time reliving that in memory. Now, some actors, when they do that, will stay in that mood the entire day. They won't even want to communicate with the actors during the lunch break because they don't want to break that mood. So they'll go off to lunch by themselves, won't communicate with anybody till after the production because they want to stay in the reality of that moment and not be disturbed by anyone. Other techniques teach you to give yourself permission to feel pain. Telling yourself, okay, now I know I'm thinking about a real person in the past. Now, the technique that tells you to give yourself permission, you're taking a loved one who's real and fantasizing that something bad happened to them. How would you feel to get the tears out? Now, that works for some people as well, but then other people go, well, I want to put a loved one in my memory and think about something going wrong with them and something happening to them. So once they say that, they've just blocked the emotion. So that means that's a technique that can't work. What I've personally developed myself over the years I've been acting is how the qualities of sadness, tears, and pain feel. Because once I know how I feel, how I breathe, the flushes in my face, different things that happen to me when I'm really feeling upset, I internalize that and remember what that feels like. Now I'm not thinking about a person, I'm not thinking about an event, I'm thinking about the emotion itself. And by thinking of the emotion itself and the qualities of that emotion, and then also how that emotion affects me when I go through it, now the mind is putting those pieces together and bringing to life an emotion that's real because that's how I really react when I'm upset or in tears. Now, what's good about this approach is it takes away any fear of reliving the past, any fear of fantasizing about something happening to a loved one in the past. But the results is the same, is to achieve tears and pain during that motion. And for example, I'm going to transfer it to you right now. Sometimes when you talk about events like this, it brings up this welling, and when you focus on the welling up in the heart, you feel it rising. And once you feel it rising, it comes up into your face, and you feel the emotion taking you over. Now, the only thing I'm not doing right now is thinking I'm not placing a scene with this emotion, because the only thing I would do next in reliving this would then place whatever scene is sad in the script with what I'm doing right now. Then that would bring the tears full forth. And that's when you find your connection with it. Sometimes when you do this, the tears take over, and that's good, because if the tears take over, you now know where too far is. But then you never want to hold back. You always want to let too far happen unless it takes you to the point where you can't talk. But now you know where the feeling is, and now you're in touch with the emotion. Now I'm taking a deep breath, because in order to shake loose, they just said break time, time for lunch. Have to take a deep breath, blow it out, blow it out. Because once you activate emotions, regardless of the technique, the emotions come to life, and you're committed to them, not blocking them. You are now in that emotion full blown. Now, how you break it and have to come back to it now, because I was using the qualities of the emotion, breaking it was just taking a deep breath and thinking happy thoughts again. We come back for lunch. Okay, we're gonna take up where you were in tears. Well, I have to go off to the dressing room, get myself back into the mood that I was just in just now. Just say, okay, tears, where are you? Where are you? I need you. I need that feeling again. And what I'm doing in the dressing room is what I just did for you on the camera. Because once you say, oh, there you are. Okay, I'm in touch with those tears. I'm in touch with that feeling. Good. Now on set, when it's time to use those tears, because you've touched them in the dressing room, in the script, you might be laughing, joking, somebody gets shot at the event in the script. Because you've touched the emotions before you came to the set, when it's time for tears to come in the scene, they'll be right there. Because you're in touch with emotions, and when you even think of sadness, boom, the emotion is right there, and that brings the emotion to life. Now, this application that I just gave you, we do in class for every single emotion. And then if you're blocking it, I can tell as an instructor, because I'm watching you, if it's time to cry, and you just, I mean, man, stop, you're not crying, you're just making me a facial gesture, or, yep, no, you know when somebody's crying, because if they're really feeling their tears, like I said earlier, if they feel it, we the viewer feel it. And that's our goal as actors, to make you go on our journey. So these are just basic examples how you can use your mind as a tool, because the mind is the orchestrator of everything I've just told you about in this lesson. So on your own time, write down on a piece of paper anger, rage, emotional pain, laughter, excitement, fear, and just write down 8 or 9 emotions, and then look at each one of them and think about what each one means to you. And your mind will instantly start thinking either of a situation or how you feel when you feel that emotion. You see, the mind remembers everything. It's just up to you to tell the mind what to remember. So that's why the mind as a tool is a very powerful tool. And that's why we train, that's why we go through the classes, the workshops, short films, to just keep exercising that muscle. Remember, using the mind in the way that we just talked about in this lesson is no different than going to the gym, working out your muscles, only now you're working out your creativity and your mind's ability to put all this together. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the more natural you get at it, the more believable you become as an actor, and then here come your Academy Awards and Emmy Awards. So, now even if you never get any of those, how many times you go to a movie and said, that should have been nominated? Because we're not going to get into this lesson, the politics in acting, because that's another lesson. How sometimes people get awards and you're going to, how did they get nominated over this film here? And there's other influences that make that happen that we're not going to go on in this lesson, because that's the more complexity that's not the fundamental acting, that's the complexities of the acting business. So we're going to stay on course here on this topic, and hopefully now you've learned not only how your mind is able to put all this together, but how your mind is able to use your emotions, total recall, and bringing back the memories to life in your performance. That's the objective of this lesson, how to use the mind to put all the elements together and make it live in your performance. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this lesson, Your Mind as a Tool in Acting. I'm Fitz Houston. So long.